Welcome on in here to Dbacks Dispatch here with your hosts Brett, Gabe, and Brandon. With a little bit of a surprise, kind of different stream. We talked about it in our Brewers series, recap yesterday, and we're going to leave it more for this one because this is kind of something that definitely needs to have its own little segment, and we were pushing it along yesterday. But we're here today to discuss the drama that is the Diamondbacks and where they play baseball. Chase Field. It just came out, I believe, last Thursday. Derek Hall had some comments on the Bickley show. I'm forgetting. I always mix up his last name, but
Bickley and Murata.
Thank you. So he had some comments on there, kind of about the stadium and how the Dbacks, the organization, felt kind of offended by the city and how they've been somewhat handling their negotiating of keeping the Dbacks here for years beyond 2027 where their lease ends. But like I said, he did have some comments on there, and I do want to let those play so we can kind of hear what his exact thoughts were. And you can kind of hear a little bit of the Derek Hall. He's a lot of clips. He sounds pretty pissed in this. So let you guys, hear for yourselves.
I mean, I don't see a deal in sight. And I've now had fans say, wow, I understand why you don't have a deal. I've had fans write me and say, you should never do that deal. Well, of course. And we're not. And unfortunately, I don't see a deal now with the county. With this, at least with this current board composition. I mean, it's just impossible. So we'll continue to work with the state and city and see if there's a way to bail them out with their problems of their building.
So yeah, it's like I said, he sounds a little bit more heated and just a little more passion and energy than I'm used to hearing from Derek Hall. So it seems like they're a little bit fed up. And I'm not as familiar, and me and Brandon were kind of on the same page. We're familiar with it, we know about it, but Gabe is definitely the one that's a little more versed in, or he's kind of looked into it a little bit more. So I'll pass it on to him. He'll kind of break down and explain exactly what the back and forth. I wouldn't say bickering, but issues are that the D-backs are having with the city.
Right. So the main thing that he's was, I guess, ranting about in this clip was more that they're trying to negotiate a new lease because it ends in 2027. After that, the D-backs wouldn't have a home technically. So they're trying to renegotiate the terms, and the original terms were signed in 1997. It's a 30-year lease that they had originally signed. And under that original agreement, the county was responsible for all repairs to the stadium in those 30 years. But as soon as they won the World Series and everything happened, the county was just like, we don't want to actually keep up our end of the bargain. So, after the years and years of compounding issues, like now the roof is messed up, there's plumbing issues, AC issues, there's so many things that popped up. But according to the agreement, the county, Maricopa County, was in charge of those, and they could, for the longest time, legally sue the Diamondbacks if they try to, take the repairs on by themselves. So the D-backs couldn't do anything because their hands were tied. Because if they tried to do something, the county could legally sue them for breach of contract. So the county wasn't taking care of it. The D-backs legally couldn't take care of it. So the interest just kept compounding. The issues kept compounding, and up until 2018, they finally renegotiated the deal. And by that point, they had to countersue or sue them for over $180 million worth of repairs and damages that needed to be done. And instead, the county, they came into agreement that at that point, the D-backs would be responsible for all of the issues. But under the agreement, it would mean that they have, the money that they make from the revenue from the stadium, it would go directly to the team, so then they could do those repairs, which isn't really as common for a team to get all the revenue from there. But that's why since then, if people remember, you used to not get taxed at Chase Field. If something was $5, it would be $5. Now there's tax, and that goes included into that new deal. And at that time, Ken Kendrick said that he's willing to put in his own money into the repairs. But you're talking about $180 million, and that's over 20 years of neglect from the county. So when it came time, then the D-backs were able to come to agreement. We're talking about 20 years of repairs, almost $200 million, and there's still more to be done with this stadium. And so now, when Derek Hall was mentioning that they're trying to renegotiate these deals, the deal that they got back from the county was a 50-year lease on the stadium, but they haven't a mutual opt out, or I guess either one can opt out. Either the D-backs or the county can opt out of that agreement every 3 years. So and people are like, oh,
So when I
that
read it,
says,
it sounded like you have to give a 3-year notice to leave. And to me, I'm like, that's quite a bit of notice. I don't know if they misrepresented it in the article, or that they could opt out every 3 years, or they had to give a 3 years notice to leave.
yes, but either way, it's like it's the county is, they can easily, take up that option and say we're not going to renew it. And then what do you do? Like, if the county decides that they don't want to renew it, like, they both have to come to agreement to renew every few years. And if they decide, well, they don't want to anymore, then the team has, like, I guess Brandon's saying, they would have 3 years to move and to find a whole new stadium, build one from scratch in 3 years, find it, find the location, get the permits, get everything ready, then move them. That's damn near impossible. Like, nowadays, it would take about, I mean, we've seen it from the Coyotes. The Coyotes have been trying to negotiate for 10 years or so,
Yeah.
trying to find a new home. They found a new home, and the voters voted against it because they just love looking at a landfill instead of a state of the art stadium. And who's to say that that's not going to happen with the Diamondbacks as well? And so that's why Derek Hall is saying they're not acting in good faith, and I tend to agree with them. And here's the thing: I am not a defender of billionaires. I think billionaires are immoral; like, they shouldn't exist at all. There's no ethical conception of capitalism that allows for billionaires to exist without some sort of human suffering. But I'm not going to get polycharged on this episode, but that's how I feel about it. So I'm not defending Ken Kendrick. I call him Ken Kendrick with 2 Qs yesterday for a reason. Like, I'm not a huge fan of him, but I think he is right in this, that the county neglected their end of the bargain. The Diamondbacks had their hands tied. They couldn't do anything. And by the time they were allowed to make some actual repairs, the cost had just exceeded way too much. And I know some people, when we made this original post about it, they said, like, oh, he's worth $1 billion. That's not $1 billion cash that he has in his bank account. That's tied to what the team is worth. So a lot of that's not to say that he doesn't have like a few million in the bank account, but you're asking him to put up probably his entire life
Net worth. Yeah, like his entire net worth to keep with this upkeep of the stadium, and that should have been taken care of a long time ago.
It's like if somebody asks you, like, sorry, for example, like somebody asks you, like, okay, you need to give us $20,000 right now, and we see your house is worth $400,000, so that means you have $400,000 in the bank, right? And it's like, no, I have a few savings, but that house is my net worth, and I can't just give you $20,000, right? And that's basically what is going on here. It's like, it's not liquid assets that he can just pay people. Like, there's a lot more involved in this, and I know he's been seen as this cheap owner and everything, but I don't think people understand, like, the county had the responsibility in the first place. They neglected the team and the stadium for 20 years. There's going to be issues now, and there's going to be more issues coming up because a lot of these stadiums, as state of the art as Chase Field was in 1998, it is starting to get a little more run down now. Like, you can't expect these stadiums to hold up, especially in the Arizona heat. They need maintenance. Like, you can't just expect anybody here who has a house, who has a car, any sort of, anything that stays out in the sun, they don't last as long as they should. So, yeah, I think that's about it. I will say, Derek Hall did mention, and I looked it up, that, the chairmen who are in charge of Maricopa County right now, 2 of them are not seeking re-election, and one of them was, this is his last year serving there because he lost his election. So the people who are in charge of making these decisions right now aren't even going to be in charge of Maricopa County in the next few years after this deal is done. So they don't have to face the consequences of, moving this team or whatever, because they're not going to be here anymore.
It's also one of the things that, as you were talking about, his Ken Kendrick's $1 billion worth not being like cash in the bank. And with the city, you know, Derek Hall mentioning these guys that are kind of playing in bad faith and, you know, somewhat trying to sabotage the D-backs. It's rough because there's even an article, I believe here in, oh yeah, Jack Summers had it on Sports Illustrated. Jack Summers, great writer for the D-backs. They ended up asking him and, you know, talking about how Utah and their, you know, government there, whatever, approved a $900 million like fund to attract a Major League Baseball team. And Derek Hall did even say himself on this matter, he said, it woke up a lot of people and showed just how easily a team can be lured away, said Hall. Can never see us leaving the area, but which to me, big note right there, whether that's just like fluff that he has to say for media or not. But then he, you know, still said, but if there is a market out there that is very aggressive, you never know what extent they'll go to acquire a team. So it definitely doesn't look especially good for like Kendrick and all these guys when you have a state like Utah that after already stealing our fucking hockey team, if they even try to sniff our baseball team, I will join.
I'm sorry. A baseball team in Salt Lake City would not do well.
We're gonna make them. We're gonna make them secede from these United States. We're gonna be 49 states. We do not need you, Utah. Like, please fuck off. But it is one of those.
This quote to me from Derek Hall was like, I don't want to have to leave. I'll do everything in my power to make sure that we don't. But if the city and the state don't want us to be here, why should we be here?
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think there's a lot of the articles are even talking about how it just doesn't seem feasible the MLB will let the Diamondbacks leave Arizona.
Correct.
It's whether everyone says the Fairweather fans or not, this is still a very big market for the sport.
You have half of the league has spring training here.
Yeah, like it's
there's a reason
you can't not
for
have a
that.
team here. So that was kind of like I do agree with you. Those comments from Derek Hall definitely kind of eased me a little bit, especially hearing about Utah. Like they're just anything about Utah is triggering me at this point.
Yeah.
But there were a few questions I at least had that I wanted to get.
Before we get into that, I just want to bring something up real quick because it kind of has something to do with V's comment on how Chase Field is behind in terms of sport facilities. There are 3 stadiums in the National League alone that are older than Chase Field. Coors Field, 95, Wrigley, and Dodger Stadium. That's it. Every other team in the National League has gotten a new stadium since 1997.
And Coors is still, I'm pretty sure they keep up with it. It's still
they do.
Park. Like they're not going to move from there. So the Coors is probably not going to ever be moved unless the Rockies.
Like there's so many things that they need to update on this stadium to have it be like up to standard with the rest of Major League Baseball. Pretty sure the American League is very close to the same, where there's not a lot of stadiums that are older than like 20, 25 years old because they're not meant to be that long. There's only a handful like Dodger Stadium, Fenway, Wrigley. There's a reason there's
Dodger Stadium is not even like a good stadium. It's like it's called Poop Ravine as a meme, like for a reason. Like there's still major problems with that. It's just kind of like Wrigley. Wrigley's historical. Dodger Stadium will get it eventually. They're gonna put some facelift into it. Wrigley just had it, I believe, a year or two ago where they put an entire it's possible to keep the same ballparks where you don't need to do what the Braves did and get an entirely new ballpark. An entirely new ballpark village does sound nice, but Chase Field is already there. The bones are already there. The memories are already there. You just need to put a little bit of like Gabe said, sometimes, if you neglect the things in your house and, it can be like you see the things that are falling apart, or it's like, oh, I forgot to, dust this corner. I forgot to take care of that leaky window. I forgot to, WD-40 this or whatever the case is. If you let it pile up, yeah, it's going to be a big charge, once you finally do it, but just take care of it as you go. Like you can make the existing structures still good. You just got to, meet the team somewhat halfway, and the city has not been doing that.
Yeah.
But as I was, saying, didn't want to move on. That was a great point, Brandon. But the questions that Josh actually had in here for us, there's at least 3 we wanted started, to kick off here to go through. And then if there's any from you guys in the chat, I believe there's one that we have started here from William. We'll get to that, William, because that's kind of part of one of Josh's questions here. But the first one to you two fellas is, if a new stadium were to be built without restrictions, where would you want it to be built? So it's actually perfect time, William. It says here, Dbacks could build a great stadium in Tucson at I-10 and Tangerine. I'm not too familiar with the area personally. I would not want the D-backs to go to Tucson because I don't like Tucson as much. But as long as it keeps them in Arizona, I'm okay with it. But pass it on to you, Gabe. What are your thoughts on if there were a new stadium to be built, like Josh said, without restrictions? Where would you want it to be built? And the without restrictions is doing a little bit of heavy lifting there, but still.
I mean, I guess the best place would probably be somewhere in Glendale, just because the Cardinal Stadium is already there as well. If not, then maybe in the Salt River area, but it's just so much harder to build anything there because it is a reservation. It's not a part of Maricopa County. So they have to get special permission there, and it's just a lot different in terms of taxes and everything that don't belong to like the state of Arizona. So I guess either one of those places, like Glendale or in Salt River, that Scottsdale area, because it is part of the most convenient. Because again, I know Tucson has a lot of space there, but there are over 8 million people, I think, in Phoenix, as it is, and Tucson has probably like about 1.5 million people living there. I can't see this team being as successful there. And I know that we've had issues with attendance in the past, but this team still averaged around 25 to 30,000, even in the worst years. So I think, keeping it here, keeping it in Arizona, keeping it near the actual season ticket holders should be fine. But yeah.
Yeah, I think you've already established kind of some of the fan base here where they live. It's like you said. I believe one of you guys mentioned on the last broadcast that they did move out all the way to kind of by Salt River Fields or whatnot. It's like I'm probably going to considerably less games than I would be if they would just stay at Chase Field. So there's definitely a few options. I think Glendale's a pretty solid one. At least you could try to maybe get the city to buy into like a ballpark village kind of thing with the Cardinals, like do something near there. But Brandon, same question to you. If a new stadium were to be built without restrictions, where would you want it to be built?
I think it needs to remain in downtown. I think because it's the most central location. There's a reason the Coyotes struggled for so long. It's because it's out in Glendale. Cardinals don't have that issue because it's the NFL. It doesn't matter where that stadium is, the Cardinals would have good attendance. Like, I don't want it to be on like one side of the valley or another, because I think, like kind of Brett said, like if it's on one side, the people that are on the other side of town are not going to go as much. Downtown is right. It's equal distance for people in Glendale and then like people here in like Mesa and Gilbert. So I think downtown, and again, there's a lot of area in downtown that they could probably buy people out to get the land to build it. Because I don't think there's a lot they can do with the existing land that they have. Like if they want to build like restaurants and stores, like there's not a lot of space left in downtown to do that. Like I think a lot of that land that's south of the stadium till you get to, what is that, the 10 like south, like if they could purchase all of that land, like a lot of portion of that, they could create a entertainment district. And I think that would do well, not just for the Diamondbacks, but because it's closer for the Suns too. Like for me, that staying downtown I think is very important. But sometimes it may not happen. I don't hate the idea of Salt River, but like Gabe said, it's a part of an Indian reservation, so it's probably a lot more difficult to be able to get that to work.
Yeah, so there's definitely a few, that's kind of why like the without restrictions would probably be there for the reservations get on there. V brings up a great point in the comments here of, honestly, I think the current location is optimal. Light rail is so good to connect so many restaurants, and even like Josh said, he wants build the stadium as farthest east stop in the metro line, so it's not next to his house. I think those two comments just kind of highlight one of the big parts about why keeping it kind of in the area it is, or at least in a way to the light rail that can get to it, because at least that's a mode of transportation. Even for me, like they finally got the light rail to kind of go up to the metro, where the old metro center was. It's finally up here. It's so perfect. Yes, sometimes it takes like an hour if it's really busy, hour and a half to get to the ballpark. But I mean, it's a lot. Like I'm not going to complain, and if they at least keep it near where a metro station is going to be, I'm okay. Just to me, again, just like you said, Brandon, there's probably some places downtown you could do it, because you can't really put a ballpark village with all of the businesses and the core areas around there, but there's probably some area you could, I feel like, realistically make something happen. But I don't know. I feel like it's just stick with what you got and just, improve on what's there. Just put the money in. Like if you keep up with the renovations, they will stay. But the second question that Josh had for us here was, where realistically could a new stadium be built? Like, obviously, I know this is, maybe we definitely kind of or maybe partially answered this in the first part, but not just where would we want, but let's say with restrictions, if all the reservations are actually out, let's say they can't find any space in downtown. Like, do you think that there is actually a spot, like, William said, like Tucson, or do you think it's going to lead to something where a state like Utah and their $900 million carrot on a stick could entice a team like the Diamondbacks to abandon Arizona if the state genuinely does not want to work with them? So Gabe, question to you: realistically, with all those factors kind of like involved, where would things kind of fall, the dominoes fall for the D-backs?
I guess I used these two questions or kind of combine them, but I agree with Brandon. Like downtown is the perfect spot. Like they should never move there, but realistically, it would be either Glendale or Salt River, since they already have a relationship with the Pima natives there. So there is a possibility there. I think, man, they should just put a casino in Chase Field at that point, because I mean it wouldn't be restricted, and I don't know. I mean, MLB is already running all these DraftKings ads, so it doesn't really matter. But
that's your ballpark village. Hotel attached to it with the casino.
Hotels,
there you
casinos, like it is kind of the perfect spot. Like I mean, I'm definitely gonna go to a lot less games because, like talking about the light rail, I can just take a light rail and be there in 20 minutes.
Well, you guys say that. I live in the Far East Side. I go to so many games.
I live 15. I live actually like 15 minutes driving from the stadium. But if I don't want to drive and I want to hang out in some bars afterwards, then I will just take the light rail, and it's so much easier and more convenient. But yeah, so I think maybe there, probably where the Salt River Fields already is, the issue is always going to be that they need to actually build a ballpark there, because I don't think the Major League Baseball is going to allow this team to operate in the dead of summer with an open air stadium like that, because players are going to drop like flies. I mean, we have Merrill Kelly cramping up in 80-degree weather, so we can't have them playing at 120 degrees.
Yeah, say I don't even want to imagine what Merrill's calf would do. I think it might actually explode if that was the temperature he had to pitch in. Thank God that in spring training is at least, what are we, the Sacramento A's? Josh, that's funny. I like that. But Brandon, same question to you. I know, like, kind of Gabe said, it may have already touched on it, but realistically, where would the maybe few options be for the D-backs to get a stadium deal done, whether it's staying in Chase or if they do build a new stadium, where would that realistically go?
I like the idea. If downtown is just like they're just done, they don't want to deal with that anymore, go into the Salt River, build a brand new state-of-the-art stadium, have probably multiple casinos with hotels, and then have an entertainment village with like maybe a movie theater, like a mall right there, and like all sorts of food options. I think that would do really well. Another option you've been talking about, this is an issue with Maricopa County. There's another county in the valley. It's not a good option, I personally think, but it is a option. Pinal County. It's a lot farther east. That's the big issue, is that it's probably just as bad as going to Glendale. Like, that's about how far east it is how far west Glendale is. Maybe even Surprise. So that option, like, for me, that would be like a last resort. Like something like they're like, okay, Scottsdale's not working, Glendale's not working, North Phoenix, downtown. Maybe we go all the way out to the far east side. Um, I think attendance would struggle if they did that. Like only like the diehards of people on the east side would go. Like everyone that lives out in Glendale and Peoria and Surprise, I don't think would go.
It's almost kind of like what the Coyotes had a similar situation where it's like, you know, the diehards would go to as many games, and I tried to go to a lot of Coyotes games, but especially when some of the stadium stuff was going on, and it's like, dude, like 45 minutes of a drive, you know, dealing with the traffic and sometimes all that, it might not be as enticing for the regular casual, which, like you said, you know, diehards, like I'd probably still, I love baseball so much to where, you know, if me and my wife, whenever we talk about, you know, moving somewhere, I'm like, do they have a baseball team so I can at least watch professional baseball? It's got to be, you know, the big caveat, because I got to have baseball. So I would go somewhere, but I definitely think you know, you definitely lose out on a good portion of, you know, even how casual the D-backs fan base is listed for being, you know, fair weathers.
It's because it's new. It's only
yeah,
been
no,
around for 25 years. Do not compare this to the Cubs and the Dodgers. They have generations of fans. So like that's my biggest thing when you see that from like Philly fans. Oh, you guys don't show up. This has only been a franchise for 25 years. It takes time to build those generation upon generation of fandom.
Yeah, like it.
I think you muted yourself on accident.
I did. Thank you. I did. Thank you. I think I'm actually like one, well, not just me, but I know like, you know, probably me, Gabe, we're probably some of the first actual like born and raised D-backs fans to where that's it, especially if with the luck of, you know, me, Gabe, you probably actually got to see it, because I know I think you're just a few years older than me. I never actually got to, again, I never actually got to have with my own eyes, having a memory of that 01 World Series, to where when a lot of the fan base, maybe like me, even before last year, a lot of the big success they got to see was on some super old, you know, DVD before Blu-ray was even a thing that was invented, and you had like 480p at best quality. Like that was what I got to witness. So within the next few years, I think we'll definitely see more diehard D-backs fans. It's just how awesome. Like look at the Rays. The Rays have been slowly starting to get more loyal fans. Brett Phillips even talked about it like when he was there.
Also, when you have a team that is consistently good, making the playoff, because before last season it had been what 2017, and then the year before that, what was it, like 2011? Like, if you are a competitive team more consistently, you will build that fandom as well.
Yeah, because I think the thing is, people talk about, you know, bandwagon fans, and there's a lot of issues with bandwagon fans, but those bandwagon fans, if you keep winning, they do turn into real fans. And if they have kids, family members, those people turn into real diehards. Like with, you know, at least in my side, like Brett is mentioning, I was born in 95. The team formed in 98. So I remember them very well at that age, just because I loved baseball. My dad's huge, both my parents are huge baseball fans. My dad was actually a Dodger fan, so there was always a little bit I mean, he turned to a D-backs fan as the second this team, you know, existed, thankfully. But I still always call him a closeted Dodger fan, because he'll put on Sportsnet, and I'm just like, I know what you are, and and then yeah. So I mean, we're Brett's talking about the DVDs, dude. I'm talking about VHSs, the VHS where you had to go buy at Fry's, you know, for that 2001 World Series. But yeah, it's very few far between. I have quite a few friends who are from here. Um, Most of them are D-backs fans, but a lot of them carry, you know, a lot of the fandom from their parents. So it's Dodger fans, Cubs fans. It's a lot of, you know, this is a transplant city, and it still continues to be a transplant city. We have a lot of people from California. I work at a school, and there's a handful of us that are actually from, you know, Arizona in general. Most people are from the Midwest or from California, and you know, people bring their teams with them. They don't want to just integrate in this case, and why would they if they see that this team doesn't win anything? Why would they become fans of this team when they can see if you're a Cubs fan, your World Series came in 2016, and they for the most part up until the last few years had been very competitive. So if the D-backs can maintain this level of competitiveness, be in the playoffs, maybe and win a World Series, like you're going to get more fans and you get more people who are going to be willing to spend money and come to the stadium, and so they need to stay here. Like you need something to be stable. Like we see with the Coyotes, as soon as they realize that they're going to sell the team or get rid of the stadium and everything, people stop going because it does feel like, well, why would I? Why would I want to go there and spend my money, spend my time, dedicate parts of my life for something that's not going to exist here anymore? Like it kind of just seems a little useless to dedicate any sort of time to that. So, and with the D-backs, they have a deadline of what 3 years now.
Mhm.
So I mean, they got to get it
2027.
resolved. They got to get it resolved. I mean, Ken Kendrick is going to be 85 years old when this happens. So something needs to be done immediately.
Yeah, it just seems like there's always issues, and that's the unfortunate thing is I'm pretty sure I've had more years of having to worry about the D-backs potentially leaving than we've had years of playoff baseball, and that's kind of pissing me off at this point. It just seems like every 2-3 years we're having to deal with this kind of conversation. But one of the last questions that we kind of had on the stadium topic that we at least wanted to touch on, a little more of a fun one, maybe if not fully a fun one, just if you were given the money, if you were a stadium technician and you got the list of things that needed to be fixed right there, or even as a fan, things you've experienced in the ballpark that you've kept in mind. If we were to stay at Chase Field, we know what essentials need to be fixed, AC and roof, but what brand new amenity or feature could be built to really attract some fans to some games? Like, it could be even a slight upgrade, like maybe it's something to do with the pool, like maybe it's like a double-decker pool that has like a slide going on into the other pool. Like that's a major
You
hazard. So probably
mean
not.
like the Brewers have?
Yeah,
Little
imagine, dude.
slide.
Imagine Baxter. Like they have like a Baxter just for the games in like a little Baxter Speedo sliding down in the pool. Like, yeah, dude.
Have a slide there right from the home run porch, right into the pool.
Exactly. So whether something like that or it's genuinely a brand new feature that we don't have in Chase yet, what's something that that you would prefer to add? So Gabe, I'm gonna pass it to you first.
So for me, I believe I mentioned this before, and like make use of the terraza, like have a freaking band playing there, have people dancing during the games, like make it Arizona's hottest club is Chase Field. And I think for me, I would rather have it right in the middle of the top deck. Take out those seats because it has capacity for 49,000 fans. We don't need that many people there. Most people don't, we're not selling it out every single time. But if you get rid of that top area, just making not the entire area, but just a few rows of that top area, make into like a little club or dance floor. Because I mean, I know the Padres have it right up in left,
It's
right
behind their
field.
center field, I believe, back where they
Yeah,
used to
so
have
and they have like
it's
a
like a whole
DJ playing
party.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think Miami, Tampa, I think they have that stuff. So there's no reason why Chase can't do that. Like I know they try to have DJ, I don't know, dubstep, whatever his name is, and hiding somewhere behind like the Senator Ford truck, but have it
DJ
like an
Rockwilder,
actual.
baby.
Yeah, there you go. Have him or anybody else, an actual band. I'm talking about like a Mexican band. We have a huge Mexican community or Latino community here. Just turn it into like a dance floor, have people dancing and playing around. Like, I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. Is even for all the Hispanic Heritage Nights, whenever they do have the band playing in left field bleachers, it's fun. Whether even on some of the nights I've been there when the D-backs are getting blown out, at least you can kind of have a little bit of fun, dance a little bit.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
I want to bring up AZ Bubba's comment. Could bring back Peter Piper Pizza. Yes, bring back Peter Piper Pizza Playhouse. Bring back
Panda
Peter
Express.
Piper in general. I'm tired of Streets of New York. It's kind of mid-ass pizza for what you get. Bring back Panda Express. Bring back Dutch Bros. Like, bring those things back. This is what they took away from us.
Yeah, the Panda Express. I mean, if I was gonna pick not only the little double decker pool, but I think a actual like VR batting cage kind of thing would be cool, or an actual like we already have the batting cages like the regular one over there for like the kids. So get one that's kind of like an adult one where it's like the VR like the actual like pitch machine clocking thing where I can go and accidentally drill the little mannequin batter like I'm Charlie Sheen in Major League, or I can go up there and in VR kind of like those the home run trackers where it's like a screen like the golf ones, but it's the baseball where you can have it pop up and hit and you can see if it's a home run in that ballpark. Something like that would be really cool, and I feel like would be a little bit more like in touch with some of the modern technology. But Brandon, same thing to you. What would you kind of add, whether it's an upgrade on something the D-backs already have like the pool I mentioned, or just something completely or even like Gabe said, which is making La Terraza a more focal point of the stadium? What's something that you kind of had in mind?
A lot of things that I'm thinking of is a lot of just better fan experience. Like, depending on what game you go to, the in-stadium Wi-Fi can either be really good or you can't do anything. So I think they need to establish, like, obviously they have a Wi-Fi for the press box. They should have a specific Wi-Fi for season ticket holders, and then like different Wi-Fis depending on the section that you're sitting, because there's like one to pick. So they just need to boost the power and the amount of bandwidth that it can hold. Another thing that I don't know how they don't have this, the ability to order food from any seat in the stadium. Like they have that at Petco, and I love it. Like you could be sitting in the nosebleeds, you could be sitting front row right behind home plate. The ability to order it directly to your seat. Because Chase Field right now, it's just like that one section right behind home plate. Like there's just like it's like a section of like 10. I'm sorry. It needs to be in every single one. Like things like that. And obviously fix the AC for God's sakes. Please fix that AC. Like, come on. Like I shouldn't have to question when I'm in a inside stadium. I'm like, why am I sweating?
Yeah, me and my mom, it's
That's probably my number one is get the AC to properly work.
We know it's like make it feel like it's the Brewers have a heater for when they get to deal with the winter. We don't ever have to deal with the winter. Make it ice cold in there. Make it so cold that any like dad over like 45 walks in there and is like, how much paying for your electricity bill in here, huh? I'm like, I don't know if I like that. Maybe bump it up a few notches. Like make it just make that shit chilly. Make it cold in there. Like me and my mom should not have to go buy a dollar store. Which hey, this is a good tip if you guys ever something, because I sweat all the time. I'm a head sweater. I get it from my mom. Little dollar store like fans, the like little fold fans. One of those, and then even if you need to.
Brett died, I think.
Oh, Brett just straight up left. Oh, wait, nope.
Here we go.
He's back.
I literally was in the middle of my mouse clicked on the thing to refresh and was like, cool. I don't even know where I was going with that anymore. Oh yeah, say even bringing like a washcloth just to like wipe the sweat. But a little dollar store fan works wonders. Should not have to deal with that in Arizona in 2024 when we have a multi-million-dollar stadium that needs upgrades. But before we get
I like what Gabe said about bringing better either well-known food places or like places that have better food.
Like they gotta bring me a Barrows, even if it's not going to be Peter Piper. Bring me Barrows over Streets of New York, or
local Spinatos. If they bring Spinatos like they have over at the footprint center for the Suns, that's good. Like I want good food. I don't like. Yeah, of course, people want hot dogs, popcorn, Cracker Jack, but like legit like good food. Like that's the one thing I would like. But the thing that I'm worried about right now is how long, like, if they don't reach an agreement, like, what happens in 2027? Do they just do a year-to-year lease and they play in a crappy state? Like, they need to get something started about maybe they build a new stadium. Like they probably have backup plans. I'm hoping you do, Derek Hall and Ken Kendrick. I really hope you do. I hope you're not putting like, let's hope that that Maricopa County gets new leadership in for that group that's overseeing this, and hope that they come to an agreement, like that doesn't make me feel great. Because it's going to take like 2 to 3 years to build a new stadium, so you got to do this fast.
Yeah, so I think the at least a year by year thing would probably be their plan. I just don't want to become the new A's, the A's of the NL West. Like, just please, nothing like that. Just get it done. But at least we didn't have some kind of fun here to end, because this lingering over here and all this could be something that, like you said, Brandon, 3 years. It's not too long. It doesn't take long for 3 years to come up on you, and even next year and all this could be something that we talk about continuously. So make sure you guys obviously like, follow, subscribe, hit the notification bells. We will be placed for the coverage and all that whenever there's more news. But before we get out of here and get prepared for the Dbacks game, because they're about to start the series against the San Francisco Giants. And if they do sweep this series and the Braves lose 2 against the Mets in their upcoming series, the D-backs don't even need to worry about winning a single game against the Padres. They will.
I mean, you probably want to going
for getting into the playoff seeding wise. They would still want to. They're not going to punt the games away, but at least we don't have to worry
like
about
they did last year.
Really fighting for their lives of begging, begging other teams to, get them the win. But before we get on out of here and watch that, I want to get some quick final thoughts just on the the Chase Field topic from you, Gabe and Brandon. But Gabe, I'm gonna start with you first. Floor is yours.
Yeah, the D-backs need to stay in Arizona in general. They need to stay in Phoenix. Downtown is the perfect location, especially right next to the Suns arena. Like, the light rail passes through there. We starting to have more of an entertainment district there. Like, we kind of just need investors to come in and make the area a lot better. I think one of the issues is the convention center. It takes up so much space there, and it's just kind of impossible to go anywhere. And like, at least the Suns, you could walk across the street and go to the whatever that place is called and go to Cityscape. But yeah, they need to stay here. Like, they are at this point Arizona. They helped the economy out. Like, there's so many people employed there. The revenue they bring,
so much money
here
would be lost if they leave. So much money.
And I know they talk about the taxes from taxpayers and stuff like that. I'm like, does anybody here know where your taxes go to? Because if you look at some of these streets, it doesn't seem like they're doing anything as it is anyways.
Taxes just seem like the boogeyman that gets mentioned whenever you want to make a point for something that you don't want to have happen. But Brandon, same question to you. Final thoughts. Just get it out there about the the stadium and all the kind of the news that's come out recently about it.
I would say Ken Kendrick and Derek Hall, stand your ground. Don't cave in and just start paying for it, because this current crop of whoever's on that council doesn't want to keep up their end of the bargain. So just what needs to be done. So just try, just don't cave, because the county should be doing this. That was on the original agreement. They should hold it to them, because that's what the Diamondbacks did. Diamondbacks didn't make any changes to the stadium because the agreement said that they couldn't.
Exactly.
So the county needs to hold their end up of the agreement.
Only time will tell with that one, unfortunately. Yes, perfect segue to it. See y'all in the Discord, as V says. Again, quick reminder, we do have a Discord. It's free. Does not cost any money at all to join. It is in all of our socials in the links below. Make sure you guys join. We got plenty of channels for game day discussions, pet discussions, movies, video games, food, all that. Just trying to build a whole community over there. So come join us. Most of us will reply to, so just add us in there as well. But make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe as well. It really does help out, especially commenting. Like, it does, push the algorithm a little bit. Don't want to be that guy, but it really does help us out here. And then also make sure you guys follow us on Twitter, because we do got some banger memes. Gabe, I think, is going to be on the memeage tonight, or Brandon. I'm not sure, either one of them, but make sure you follow us on Twitter for the live game tweets and all that. But again, thank you very much to each and every one of you guys for coming through. V, Bubba, William, Josh, Make sure I'm not missing anybody else in here. I'm pretty sure. Dr. Barry McCockner, love our regular troll. Love you, sir. But seriously, appreciate each one of you guys coming out here. We will see you guys at the end of this Giant series for the series recap. Let's go get a sweep. Let's get into the playoffs.
It's the Dbacks dispatch. Let's go. Yeah, bring the red game, Josh on the floor. West Coast vibes, catch us on the air. Home run dogs, diamond gems we share. Brandon was a dad, Caesar man was a plan. Red races down, Chelsea like it is, man. Gabs on fire, brings the heat every time. Josh on the mix, keep the beat so prime. I got the insights every week's a hit. Tune in, Dbacks dispatch, this is it. Now we rollin'. Dbacks, dispatch, yeah. Trumpet, Brandon, Brandon, Gabe, this is Big Catch. Josh on the mix, he make the beats. West Coast vibe, got the G fucking the bad. The home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. Dbacks dispatch, we here to stay. Yeah, catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it. We got the home Mac, the home Mac, the home